Today we are talking with Joline Rivera, culinary innovator and founder of Rbel Honey Gummies. Joline and Rbel are on the cutting edge of the next generation of candy. We can no longer settle for ultra-processed candies containing colors and flavors that do not even occur in nature. I'm excited for you to hear her story. She has been training for this moment of success her entire professional life. I was once told that once you find your purpose, your why, everything else falls into place. Joline's story is innovative, inspirational, and has a common twist so many women have experienced. Hello and welcome, Joline. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So should we start at the beginning? Can you tell us about your professional background?
Yeah, I'll try to make it short because I feel like it's a long one. But I originally got my start as a graphic designer turned into creative director. So I used to be a creative director mainly in food. I'd say food focused. So I got my start art directing food shoots for cookbooks for Meredith Publishing, magazines for Meredith Publishing.
So were you like a food stylist?
No, that's a food stylist. So they were on our set. Yeah. And I had prop stylists who would put all the plates and things down. And then we had photography and assistants and all kinds of things. I would basically just direct the shoot, like put the food here, let's move this, let's move that, the lighting, the focus, the position of the camera. And then it was basically my job to say, yep, that's it. That one. Next, so
very good. Mm-hmm. So you were exactly what you said, the director.
Yep, I was a creative director and art director, creative director on many different shoots for different organizations. I was basically running my own business and working for a lot of different companies like that, Crate and Barrel, Land of Nod, the list goes on and on. But I really took an interest in food. And
why? Do you have a background in food? Did you cook a lot? Because I read you don't like cooking.
No, I don't like cooking. I remember my mom saying to me, I can't believe you're working for the Food Network. You don't even like to cook. I'm like, I hate to cook. But I liked food because to me, there was so much you could do with it.
Yes.
And I really wasn't thinking, if I'm being honest, I wasn't thinking of nutrition. I was thinking about texture and shape and position and all of the things that make food beautiful. I just found it really interesting and fun and got into cookbook design. And
I love to look at a cookbook.
I love looking at books and food magazines and cookbooks too. I just don't use them.
Right. I have some that I just got because they're so pretty.
Yeah.
They really are. I mean, and the way
stunning
the food is, positioned and stylized, it doesn't look like that when I get it to the table every night, but that's another issue.
It's so aspirational,
Yes.
And inspirational to say, maybe one day I'll try that recipe. I mean, I have done that. I've tried a recipe and tried to see if I could build a cake to make it look exactly like the cake that was on the cover. And, as a former art student, I studied art in school and I feel like I'm really good at that kind of stuff.
It's very creative.
Yes. And I can roll out a pie dough and that pie dough is perfectly round.
Is it?
But, so I went from there to Chicago and I was doing work for like a Chicago magazine. I remember my very first job in 2004 was to art direct the top 20 restaurant shoot in Chicago.
Oh, how fun.
Do you remember how coveted that list was? I mean, you're from Chicago, so you remember everyone wanted to know which restaurants were going to be on the top 20 list. Yeah. And so that was my very first job when I moved to Chicago in 2003 and 4. And
where did you grow up?
I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa.
I went to school in Des Moines.
You did?
I went to Drake.
So did I.
You did? Oh,
yes.
I'm sure we're not the same age.
Well, I graduated from Drake in 1997. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think we're closer in age than I thought.
And so
I think we were there at the same time. Possibly.
Maybe.
Okay.
I went right from there. Right 6 months before I graduated, I was offered a job at Meredith Publishing for Country Home magazine at the time.
Yes, I know Country Home.
So then I guess after cookbook, I mean, I really just stayed in that in that space. I used to do work for Kraft Foods with Meredith Publishing. I used to do work for US Foods.
All Chicago based.
Basically, yeah. And then it would be easy to be in Chicago. I moved here in 2003 so I could get to Des Moines easily and I could get to New York easily.
Yes.
And I wanted to change, And so I was here for a while when I always say I got sick, If you said to me, did I have a fever? No. Did my body hurt? No. But I knew that something was wrong with me. Yes. I was training for a triathlon, and the harder I trained, the worse I felt. Yes. It's like I didn't get stronger. I felt bigger, and I can't explain that. It wasn't like, oh, was I fat? No. But I was puffy. I felt inflamed. I felt weighed down. Yes. I felt like I would do a 4 or 5 mile run to Oak Street Beach. Yes. And I did it with my partner at the time. He was an Ironman, so he was coaching me. And then I would swim a mile or so, and then one of us would run or bike back. So it's called brick training when you do 2 or more of those events in one day.
That's amazing.
You have to figure out how to do it because you're going to do all of it eventually, right? And so I would do that training, and like weeks and weeks would go by, and I was like, why am I not getting stronger? Why am I not leaning out? Yes. Why is my body not responding to this training? And I thought, well, maybe I need to eat more. Maybe I'm not eating the right foods. So I changed that around. And when you're training like that, you can't just cut out carb. I'm not a carb cutter anyway. Right. I used to be, but I'm not now. And not during this time, because you need that.
Yes.
And I wanted to make
sure
your
fuel,
protein, and all the things. So I went to 4 different doctors at the time, and each of them said to me, "Are you sure you're eating what you say you're eating?" Yes. Almost. I had one really accusatory. He was basically like, "I don't really believe you. I think you're eating way more than you should, and you're probably,"
which is terrible. Like, what a bedside manner.
And we all know how long you wait.
Yes,
to the doctor's
to
office,
get to this appointment, and you have 4 minutes to get it out.
Yeah, it was weeks, and none of them took my blood. None of them
interesting
really talked to me about nutrition or hormones or anything. So it wasn't until I met Dr. Paul Savage here in Chicago, who was at the time a 25-year MD and a function medicine specialist. The first thing he did was, great, I believe you, let's take your blood work. So they took my blood work, got the results back. My hormones were out of whack. And also, but he said there was nothing there that couldn't be fixed with food. So he told me if I didn't know better, I would think you're type 2 diabetes. Right. But I'm not going to call you that because I don't want to label you that. But let's just say that your insulin is working against you. Okay. And your body is inflamed, and your insulin is it's not working at all. It's not even being processed. Your body, every time you eat or every time you create insulin, which is when you eat, you create insulin. And also when you exercise, you create insulin. So when you work out, that is actually stress on your body. You're creating cortisol, and your body.
Did you have high levels of cortisol as well?
I did.
Okay, very good.
I did. And your body doesn't know how to break that down when you're in that state. Yeah. So basically he called me, he's like, instead of hanging our, hat on the type 2 diabetes, let's just say you have diabetes that runs in your family. It's in your genetics. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it means that it runs in your family. I also had markers for Parkinson's and congenital heart disease. All of those are things that are in my family. Those are things that I have markers for. He said, again, doesn't mean you're going to get it. It just means whatever. So he's like, this is what we're going to do. Here's a food list. Eat this. If it's not on this list, don't eat it.
Okay. So
he didn't talk to me about calories.
Was it restrictive?
Yes, it was. He wanted to balance out my insulin resistance. And in order to do that, you can't eat foods that would raise it, and you can't eat foods that would suppress it. So he wanted me to eat this food list for 6 weeks, come back, take a blood measurement, and go from there. So we actually did that 3 times. But I always say that he wrote me a food prescription.
Right. Food is medicine.
Thank you very much. And that is when I learned that food is medicine. And it was all of the things that I had learned about food over my 20 years of working in food, working with food creators, recipe developers, culinary experts, chefs, hearing them talk about how incredible food can be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you combine the right flavors, you don't have to cover it up with, shitty ingredients like artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, refined sugar. People pour sugar into products in order to cover up taste.
Yes. It's funny because a little bit of salt makes it a little bit better, but a handful of salt will, ruin your recipe. So you kind of have to look at that with sugar, a little sprinkle here and there. Sometimes I can live with it, but too much sugar is too much sugar, and it's ruining us. This morning, actually, I was watching one of the morning shows, and Dr. John LaPook, he's the expert, he was saying, I think it was like 40% of us are overweight and 40% of us are at least pre-diabetic. And those are really ridiculous numbers. And all I hear these days is about like the diet medicine or, the diet injectables, but it's not making a dent. And we're using the injectables, but we're continuing to eat the ultra processed, high and refined sugars foods. And that's the problem, I think.
People often say to me, oh, you're so healthy. Oh, you're so, how do you eat so well? You'd be surprised at some of the things I eat. It might surprise some people. I love potato chips and dip.
Yeah.
I love Jenny's ice cream.
Yes.
I often order Jenny's ice cream.
But you choose Jenny's ice cream, not a, blue colored something. I don't know the flavor colors, it's not ice blue
40 or blue one. Yeah. Here's the way I like to think of it. Someone asked me, I actually just posted on my Facebook account, here are the top 4 things that I try to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100%, because it's impossible to cut out 100% of sugar.
Agreed.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to have any ice cream, and I don't believe in that. I love health and wellness. Health is a salad, sleeping well, vitamins, running. Wellness is also sleeping well, running, a warm blanket, a good movie, a scoop of ice cream.
Agreed.
Wellness to me are the things that make you feel good.
Yes.
Health is all of the things that make you healthy, whether it's mentally or physically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to do things sometimes that make me feel good that have nothing to do with actual physical wellness. So if that means having an ice cream or having some comfort food, I will have it. And I don't deprive myself of it. But I do try to stay away from refined sugar, mostly corn syrup, refined sugar, seed oils, and definitely artificial flavors and colors.
Yes. And for us, I've always try and steer away from high fructose corn syrup because it's not even a natural thing. It's just such a highly processed sweetener. And I don't even know how it got into our food supply.
Yeah, I think we can thank the FDA for that.
Yeah, it's a question for me. So you were a triathlete. Did you finish that triathlon?
I did.
You did?
I've done 2.
You've done 2?
Yeah, I've never done one since. I have a neck shoulder injury that challenges me. So I still run 3 or 4 days a week. I do 3, 4, 5 miles. Sometimes 5 is tops. Usually I don't like to push my body past 5 just because it starts to hurt. And to me, I'm like, it's not really worth it.
Balance.
Yeah, it is. And so I did that program too. I mean, with him and with my doctor, and we monitored every step of the way.
Right.
And, my insulin levels came down. But most importantly, what I want to say to people, my inflammation came down. When you asked me why, oh my God, well, the scale showed me, my jeans, my clothing showed me.
Right.
It wasn't about weight per se. It was about how I felt and being able to compete and run and swim and bike. And also the injury that I had so much inflammation happening in my body because of the insulin and cortisol buildup that I was having a hard time being on the bike because you're like this looking up, and you're also, when you're swimming, you're doing this rotation. So it's really hard when you have a shoulder. I have a torn rotator cuff in my shoulder and 3 herniated discs in my neck.
Incredible.
So that's,
wow.
That's a lot to deal with, especially when you have inflammation in your body. And so when you ask me, when my top 4 lists with, artificial flavors and colors and seed oils and corn syrup and refined sugar, the reason those are on my list is because they cause inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what injury or illness you have, whether it could be the common cold, it could be the flu, it could be shingles, it could be arthritis, it could be diabetes. All of those things start with inflammation. Period.
That's the common thread.
Period. Inflammation turns into long-term inflammation. And long-term inflammation then turns into illness. And so as we age, I am a firm believer that aging is just a theory, and we wouldn't age as quickly if we kept our inflammation down.
I hope you're right.
Inflammation also impacts your immune system.
Yes.
And when you have so much inflammation going on in your body and so many toxins from food colors like red 3, red 40, blue 1, yellow 5, yellow 6, our immune system doesn't work. And that's why as we get older, people will say to you, oh, you better get that shingle shot, or you better get the flu shot. It's not that we're aging. It's that our immune system is so taxed that it doesn't work anymore.
I think our immune system is confused a lot of the time.
I think it works.
That is why I think we are in the middle of like a time of epidemic levels of autoimmune disorders.
Yes.
I feel like our bodies are just so confused by all the things we're bringing into it, that it doesn't know how to process things that are good for you. For example, the food allergies, the multiple food allergies, all the kids have now. I never knew anybody, well, maybe 1 or 2, who had such high levels of food allergies. Today, our bodies are confusing things that are good for you because peanuts and peanut butter is full of protein and good fats. And then we're just, our bodies.
If you get real peanut butter.
Yes, real peanut butter. Not the one that is filled with sugars. And I was referencing like the natural peanut butters, or just whole peanuts, that are just roasted and not highly processed and things like that. Can we move on and talk about your ingredients? Because I am so curious. So
it makes sense.
You have such an eclectic mix of ingredients. I personally love saffron. I love vanilla. I love mushrooms, but I'm not sure I would put them all in together. How did you do this? This is like chemistry.
Well, I'm not a chemist, and I'm also not a doctor. So all of this, I'm a graphic designer, creative director. I'm a creator. And I was just going to say, all of this story really goes back to really what I learned from chefs. I'm going to honestly say, being in a photo shoot with chefs, hearing people talk about food, my food stylist, I have worked with some of the most amazing food stylists. Right. I can go from Food Network, those days, all the way to US Foods, what we do now. My food stylists are incredible. And when you talk to them just about food and ingredients, and our chefs, by the way, I have a chef who's part of my company.
Oh, really?
That I consult on a regular basis. Yeah, his name is Derek Simsick. I love him. But we talk about ingredients a lot. And, you learn listening, just being in the environment. When you're around food people this much, you learn just by listening. And what I said earlier really is that when you use real food,
it's a difference.
You can get incredible flavor and you don't have to cover it up.
Yes.
And so I personally was coming off of my situation with my doctor, and I love sweets. I wanted, and I love sweets more than I love chocolate. That's what I'll say.
Me too.
So I love like
must
hard
be a
candy.
bulldog thing. Just kidding. I'm joking.
Hey Drake. But I wanted some gummies, and my doctor said to me, look, just stay away from refined sugar. You can have sweets again, but just in moderation and stay away from sugar. And so I started looking for things that were made solely with like maple syrup and with honey.
Yes.
And I love those two things because A, they're natural, B, they're full of antioxidants, enzymes, and, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for things that were made with those ingredients. And I'm a honey lover. I believe in honey. I love the bees. They're incredible. And so I really I was in my kitchen and did recipe after recipe after recipe, trying to formulate my own gummy with honey just for myself at home. And I thought, if I can make a jar of gummies, I can just dip in whenever I want. Right.
Yes.
And so when I figured it out, I then took it to a few other people and thought, what do you think about this? And it was enough for me to flip the table upside down on my career. And go all in on launching this brand, because what I found out was there was nothing else like what I wanted to do.
There's nothing else like it. It's really good. But I'm curious, what kind of honey do you use? In reading about you, I saw your first company, I think, was the Kitchen Toke and Red Belly honey. And Red Belly honey is so interesting to me because I never thought about the bees processing the hemp themselves. I always think, if you want hot honey, you're going to add cayenne or whatever it is. I'm not a chemist. I'm a home cook. I'm not a chef. How did you get there? Like, that's a huge.
Yeah, that whole invention was in partnership with some folks who were based in Israel. And I was actually learning, as you know, I launched Kitchen Toke, teaching people how to cook with cannabis way back in 2017. Way back. It feels like a long time ago, considering what's happening.
Do those still exist?
Kitchen Toke does. Red Belly does not anymore.
Red Belly does not. Oh, no. It was such a cool thing.
Yeah. Kitchen Toke does. And we actually created recipes for platforms like Food and Wine. And we were creating culinary cannabis recipes to teach people that cannabis is about being healthy, not high. I don't like being high. I've never smoked. Now I take that back. I don't smoke cannabis. I used to when I was a teenager, full disclosure. But I don't believe that lungs are made for inhaling smoke.
Agreed.
Somewhere after my teen years, I realized doesn't feel good.
Right.
But fast forward now, I believe in cannabis as a healthy product. And unfortunately, we're not fully there with the laws and the landscape and what really needs to be done with cannabis. So that Kitchen Toke is still active, but
amazing.
In doing all of that work, it's what we talked about. Food is medicine. I believe that cannabis is food and food is medicine. So it's that simple. But when I started formulating Rebel Bee sweets, we've been nominated as the most innovative product by the Gamma Awards, which is an award organization, Gamma, in Manchester, England.
I didn't know this. Go ahead.
I didn't either until unbeknownst to me, they sent me an email and said, hey, you've been nominated for this. And then a few months later, I got an email saying you're one of the 8 finalists out of 40 countries. And so out of
That's
8,
amazing.
I know, we were one of 8 products in the running for Most Innovative Product Award. And we didn't win, but we out of 40 countries, we're the only ones creating a honey gummy without
That's
refined
incredible.
sugar.
Because I actually think we're learning so much about all the ultra processed foods that we're eating and how bad they are for our children. I think you're like on the cutting edge. I think you are one step ahead of the rest of the candy industry. I just can't wait for you to be able to be, and you're everywhere. Now you're everywhere, which is so cool. To me, I'm from Chicago, so I saw you were, at all the Jewels. And I thought, oh my God, you're huge. If you're at Jewel, you're huge.
Thank you.
But then you're in California, you're on the East Coast, the West Coast. That's incredible. We need this. And you said you were from Mexican descent.
Yes.
Do they have something similar to this in Mexico?
Not yet.
Not yet. I hope soon.
We have been approached twice now to be acquired. We're not ready yet.
Right.
I'm not done yet. I'd love for our candy to be in Mexico. A little piece of my story, but a huge influence was my grandpa Joe.
Yeah.
His full name was Joline Rivera. He passed away in 2019. He was special to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like he showed me favoritism. And we spent a lot of time together, and he told me a story. It was a couple years before he passed away. And he said when he was a baby in Mexico, he was learning to walk. And when he would make it up to the top of the stairs, his mother would give him a little teaspoon of honey as a reward.
Really?
And he thought honey was candy.
Yes, as it is.
He told me that in 2019. So you can imagine what it would
planted
be like
the
now.
Seed.
If I could, in my brain, I think there's somewhere in there that honey could be candy.
Mm-hmm. And it could. And he planted the seed, and you used your everything you've learned up till then to launch Rbel B. And I'm curious, what is next for Rbel B? Are you going to go into the chocolate space? Because I like gummy over chocolate, but that's just been me in my whole life.
I have so many ideas right now. To be honest, we have 2 flavors like we talked about before. Let's talk about that. We have pomegranate.
Yes.
It's called Poma Punch. There's Mexican vanilla, saffron, honey, and a little bit of beet powder. Honey is the #1 ingredient. And if you don't know this and you're reading ingredients, you should all know that whatever is listed first, that means that there's the most of that ingredient in whatever product you're eating. So whatever the ingredient is first, that means the percentage of that one thing is higher in whatever you're eating.
Yes.
So I think that's important because most people don't know that. And
I know.
When you pick up a product and you see corn syrup first, you should know that the majority of that product, is corn syrup. And so on our ingredients, honey is #1. We use alfalfa honey. You asked me that earlier.
Alfalfa.
Yeah, we have a honey purveyor in Colorado because you can't really control where bees fly, and the bees will gather their nectar from a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. And Colorado has less glyphosates, residues, and pesticides, which are toxic-free.
Great.
Right? We don't want toxins in our honey because toxins are inflammatory and toxins suppress the immune system. So it was really important for me to get honey in a place that has less glyphosates, residues, and pesticides. Mm-hmm. So we're working on getting our product tested. We want to make sure it's toxin-free. Mm-hmm. And then the other flavor is honey, blue oyster mushroom. Yes. And tart cherry extract. Yeah.
I like the tart cherry. That's sweet. The one that I go for. Which one's your favorite? Or you like them? You can't choose.
People ask me, it depends what day, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it depends. The pomegranate's a little tart, and I don't mind that. It kind of reminds me of a little sweet tart, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Can you tell me some of the benefits of honey and like any surprising facts about honey that you know about?
I mean, yeah, first, honey's a functional food. And what I mean by that is honey has benefits beyond its nutrition. Mm-hmm. So not very many, I mean, there are a lot of foods like that, but honey is powerful. Mm-hmm. So honey is nutritious. It's full of enzymes and antioxidants, and it has vitamins in it, naturally occurring vitamins. That's really important. Yeah. But besides that, honey is anti-inflammatory. Mm-hmm. So you can actually eat honey's sweeter than sugar, so you can actually use less of it. Yes. And so when people say to me, well, isn't honey just sugar? Honey is categorized by the FDA as sugar.
As a sweetener, but I don't think it's sugar. The same as sugar. It's categorized as a sugar.
When you use honey as an ingredient, they qualify it as sugar. And I say air quotes because, and it's very confusing because honey is not sugar. Yes. Refined white sugar or cane sugar or brown sugar has zero nutrition. Mm-hmm. And it's really inflammatory for you. Mm-hmm. Honey has nutrition. It's anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and antibacterial. Mm-hmm. So to me, if you can just remember those things, maple syrup as well, honey is really incredible. We actually own we trademarked the tagline, honey is better than sugar.
Really? Because I noticed that on the packaging. Mm-hmm. And It's great. It says everything you need to know.
Thank
you.
Can
we talk about your packaging?
Sure.
Is that you?
Yeah,
Is that supposed to be you?
Yes, and
because it's so cute.
Thank you so much. That's supposed to be me, and I actually hired an illustrator based in Mexico City.
Oh, really? Oh, bringing your Mexican heritage back into it. Do you go to Mexico often?
I used to. I mean, I still have family, extended family, and relatives in Guadalajara, nice. But I don't get down there very much. I don't travel that much anymore.
It's hard to get places and run a company and do everything you do. Can you tell me the biggest hurdle of building the brand?
Capital.
Mm-hmm. So do you go and hustle? I know you hustle because Darcy, our founder of Source and Self, she found you hustling at like a Ravenswood market, just really like very grassroots. And she introduced herself. I don't even know if you remember. She was with her son and she just loved your product and she wanted to carry it. And I guess that's how you originally connected. I mean, that is a lot of work. I've done the markets and the markets are hard.
They are hard. I actually just emailed, they have the artisan market this weekend. I actually emailed the woman who organizes it and said, if you guys have any last minute cancellations, let me know. I'll take the space. So,
wow. So you're still hustling at a 100%. Very grassroots level.
100%. We actually went to every Lululemon event this last summer, every Wednesday night, just to pass out our gummies for free to all Lululemon experiential members.
That's amazing.
Then we do
such positive exposure.
Yes, I think so. And then we also do demos at Jewel every Monday or Saturday morning, Monday night or Saturday morning.
Amazing.
And we do demos at Fresh Time. And then we also we at 7 a.m. every Saturday morning, all summer long. We were on the lake with the Chicago Run Club.
Amazing.
Running and passing out gummies for them. So
do you run with the Chicago Run Club?
When I can. Yeah. Sometimes I have to man the booth if I don't have anyone with me, but yeah, it's only 3 miles. So I love to get my run in while I'm working too.
Just pass them out, have a coat.
Yeah.
I'm wondering so I have 3 daughters and my youngest is involved in flag football. So in reading about you, tell me how you're crossed over with flag football, which is incredible for girls right now.
Yes.
I have 3 girls, so everything I believe is girl power and women can do anything. So you don't surprise me at all, because I truly believe we can do anything.
I'm a sports fan. So I'm an athlete. I mean, I used to play a lot of softball. I mean, I was on 3 different softball teams in Iowa growing up in Des Moines.
Amazing.
At one time, I think my dad was running from, coaching to game to game to game. So
fun.
I played all through high school, and then I still play catch today. I still get the ball out with a friend and play catch every summer. I bought my house just so I could walk down to Wrigley in 10 minutes.
Good for you.
And be at the lake to run. So all of that stuff is really important to me. And so we actually had a booth at Sweets and Snacks Expo West.
Okay.
The Natural Products Expo was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we were just coming out then, and the organizer for USA Flag Football found us in the directory.
Oh, okay.
And he asked us to come to his events. He wanted us at his National Flag Football events. So
wow. Are you still going?
We have been every year. This year we didn't go. This January, we didn't go. I have a sick dog.
They were in Tampa, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's something coming up in New Orleans, I think.
He has them all year long events.
Really?
So yeah, we can basically show up at any event we want to. He's amazing. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And is it boys and girls flag football or mostly girls?
It's boys and girls, kids from I think 5 all the way up to high school.
Yes.
And then and they do women's and men's. Yeah. It's really cool, I think. And we also have a few NFL investors too. So
you do.
The first female NFL coach is one of our investors, Jen Welter.
Well, she's cool. Yeah. She's really cool. Mm-hmm. In fact, my flag football player, she's just in high school now, but she says she'd like to work with the NFL. She really likes football.
Good for her.
My husband's a fan, and my daughters are fans too. We really do. We are a football family.
I love it. I love it.
We are a football family. So aside from football, do you have any other collaborations?
Well, I mean, we have collaborated with Lululemon. I am working on some things with REI.
Cool.
Yeah, we believe that Rebel Bee Sweets is, it's hard to categorize us. So going back to grocery, a lot of them don't know what to do with us. They say you're candy, but you're really a fruit chew, but you're also honey is natural energy. Honey has the perfect balance of glucose and fructose, so it actually titrates through over time and sustains your energy longer. Whereas sugar spikes you and brings you down, honey is pretty even. So we are, I always say we're a crossover brand, almost like a crossover car. We are an energy source, we're a healthy fruit chew, and we're also, I guess you would call us healthy candy. And a lot of places like the traditional grocery store, they're not exactly sure where to put us. And at first that was really frustrating, but I kind of take pride in that now. I don't mind breaking into or being the first to break open a new category, know.
Right.
Natural
so
foods
where would you
can
like
be a
to
lot
be?
of things. Yeah.
Where would you, if you had an aisle, where would you like to be?
Probably where all the energy bars are, the natural energy bars and snacks, things like that.
Could you just suggest that? Would they?
I mean, I do all the time.
Okay. Would they buy it?
Yes. Yeah. I do a lot. So, but it's very challenging to be in a traditional grocery store. We're now really focused on health food stores because we have to explain less. We have to educate less. People who shop at healthy stores like Healthy Edge chain, like Chamberlain's, Aikens, those people understand already the benefits of honey,
Yes.
And I feel like once you get those those kind of consumers who are looking for healthier snacks for themselves and also for their kids, it's a lot less education involved, and it's a lot easier to spread the word that way.
Yes. So you're just focused on gummies. Kitchen Toke has a
completely separate company.
Okay, and it has a cookbook, but Rebel Bee won't be expanding into cookbooks or anything like that. No. But maybe new flavors.
I call us a healthy honey snack company. So whatever snacks we produce will have honey as a priority.
And I think that is I am telling you, in 5 years, we won't know any other gummy name, because when I think about, I don't want to name a brand. When I think about the ones that I do buy and have rethought about as I get deeper and deeper into Source and Self, and I thought, I shouldn't be eating that. I know what that is. Your foods will be, because they are food. They are not, I'm not eating wax or something else. It's real food. And I think in 5 years, everyone's going to have a bag. Everybody is going to have a bag in their kiddo's lunch. It's just what you are doing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually have 6 formulations done, and we would like to produce smaller packages and then put those packages in a box, so you can buy a box and get like 20 or so little packages of gummies, because I think lunches are important, but also those packages will work in your running gear, your hiking gear, your climbing gear if you need a little energy. So that's you can understand now how the crossover works.
Yes. We are all looking for something positive for our kids' lunch, because, of course, the least expensive is all in perfectly sized packages. But I don't want, just the price point. I want the quality. And it's worth it just to know how much sugar your kids are eating. It just every day, it's terrifying. Just knowing that I can make a change and make a good, positive choice. I thank you so much.
In all honesty, if you put our product next to Welch's, and let's just say Welch's fruit chews, it starts with sugar, corn syrup, red 340, blue 1, yellow 5. Let's just say they removed all of that stuff. The main difference between Rebel Bee Sweets, what I want everyone to understand, is there are a lot of different gummies out there that say low to no sugar, right? And I think that's great. They're great. But you're still eating empty calories.
Yes.
And so I call it filler food. If you just want to eat something and fill yourself up and basically get nothing from it, that's what they're good for. I personally, when I'm eating snacks, I want some nutrition. I'm not calling us a nutritional, like where you get a nonstop nutrition, but we do have organic mushrooms in here, they have vitamin B12 in them. So, and you have all of the benefits from honey. So the enzymes, and we take painstaking processes to make sure we don't heat our honey at a high volume so that we also preserve the enzymes, the antioxidants in the honey. So all of that's really important to me. And, the other thing is we actually did win the Innovation Award by the National Honey Board, the U.S. National Honey Board, because they said they'd never seen anything like it. And so when the Honey Board said they know about all the products made with honey, and they say, hey, no one's doing this.
Right.
That's incredible.
How did no one think of it sooner? I mean, honestly, like, how did no one think of it sooner? I'm glad you did, though. I'm so glad you did. I had a question. It just left my mind, of course. I'm so sorry. But I'm glad to see that you have found your purpose, and you are truly like proof that once you find your purpose, success will follow. And just you getting your word out there and your message out there is so, it impacts all of us. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask. Where do you manufacture your foods? Because I don't know very much about food manufacturing.
We have a partnership with a co-manufacturer based in Colorado.
Also in Colorado.
Yes.
So you do but then you do your distribution out of Chicago?
Correct.
Okay, yes. Very good.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
And they also have an arm now. They're growing, my manufacturers. They also have an arm out of California as well. So
very good. And then do they primarily manufacture sweets, or they have runs of all different types of foods?
They primarily are a nutrition manufacturer.
So very good.
They produce vitamins mostly.
It really
took a lot for me. It took me 2 years to find my manufacturer, to listen to what I had to say,
right,
to hear what I wanted to do, and to take a chance with me. And that meant everything to me, because most of the traditional gummy makers told me it couldn't be done. They told me it was impossible, it was too expensive, and it was too time consuming for them, and that they would lose money. And I say that because the way they explained it to me is they use sugar. And if they have to turn that off and basically have a cleaning out process, right, and then run their machines with honey, then there's another cleaning process to get rid of the honey, then to go back to sugar for them, I guess. That's the way it was explained to me. True or not, I'm not really sure, because I'm not at the time I wasn't a manufacturer.
Right.
I just kept trying because I rarely take no for an answer, if I'm being honest.
Good for you.
When I went to Syracuse and got my master's degree, and one of the things I learned there is that when you ask somebody for something, yes, no, and maybe, they can give you 3 answers: yes, no, and maybe.
Right.
2 out of 3 is good. And even the no means no for right now. So
okay, I'm gonna remember that.
I have to believe in that, because capital is the biggest challenge for us, raising money, having enough money. I put everything that I have into this company, personally, my own finances. And then also, we've raised money. Jen Welter has invested in us, I mentioned before, but along with a few other people, we did our first raise to launch these in late 21 and early 22. Our first, just a angel round, if you will.
Right.
And we're trying to raise another round now, but it is so hard. One, I think it's challenging as a CPG startup brand and food. The environment, political, financial, otherwise, is hard. The expectations for a CPG brand are higher.
What does CPG stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry. Consumer packaged good.
Oh, very good. Oh, really? Because
you're a woman, and then and people tell me this, I don't really go by it, to be honest, because But people say because you're a woman, it's harder to raise. I've been told that by VC because you're a minority, it's harder for you to raise. So I guess those things are challenges. I don't focus on them and I don't concentrate on them, and I certainly don't. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't see myself that way, so I don't really expect others to. You know, I don't really see myself as a girl, so I don't really.
You're a creator. You're a founder. You have an idea and you want it to come to life.
I mean, honestly, just this year, because of advice, somebody said you should really get certified woman-owned by WeBank. So I did that.
Yes,
but I can't say to you that it wasn't at the top of my list.
Right. Has it made a difference?
No, not yet.
And
really.
You haven't gotten more exposure for it because, okay.
Not yet.
How do you raise capital? Like, do you have a company that you partner with to do that?
Well, let's just say I didn't grow up in a neighborhood in Des Moines where opportunity just presented itself.
Right,
okay?
right.
So if I want opportunity, I have to go find it. And it's the same thing with raising money. You know, I'm not one of those people who were raised around a lot of families or people who were wealthy or have a lot of money. So I have to find people who might know those people, you know? And then, you know, you're basically pitching or asking, you know, 40 to 100 people to get one yes.
Right. That's a lot of work and a lot of time.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of no's. And
it's a lot of no's.
When you hear that many no's,
you don't let get to you. I mean, you just
you
keep.
Can't.
Because what you've done is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm curious, how did you end up with the packaging that you have? Like what is it made out of?
Oh, the actual bag. I mean, it's recyclable material. I actually met this company at Natural Products Food Expo.
Okay,
and I can't remember what we were using when we first started, but he saw the bag and he said, "I can do better for you." And so we ended up working with him because it's compostable or recyclable. It's recyclable, not compostable. Sorry.
You're so thoughtful. Did you mean to set out to be so eco-friendly?
I would love to be more eco-friendly. One, I'd love to have like I said before, I'd love to have our product third-party certified toxic-free. I'm working on that.
Right.
I believe that toxin-free stamps are going to replace organic.
Yes, because organic doesn't have a real definition anymore.
I think it does, but I think you could buy a potato that's organic and that field could be next door to a potato farm that's not, and that leaks into the soil. And so from what I understand, it's not exactly 100%, you know? And so therefore the idea of organic gets a little watered down. And what I think is really important is basically using foods and ingredients or having an end result that you have no toxins, like no glyphosates, no residues, no pesticides, no mercury, no metal, no lead. All of those things are really important because toxins are really what disrupts your body, your immune system, and your health.
So how would you do that? Would you do it would you harvest the honey in a greenhouse? Because you can't control the wind.
Right. We would probably just have our gummies tested.
Okay.
We would have the end result tested because that's really what the consumers are getting, and that's the most important. I mean,
should you have it tested
I've had honey tested before? Yeah. So like our red belly honey. End? Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could just definitely test our honey, glyphosate residue, pesticide free.
Because if you do it at the front end, that you haven't used all this, time and money to create it. Just a suggestion.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think our honey is probably the biggest obstacle, as you mentioned, because the bees roam and they fly around. Outside of that, most of the other ingredients should already be third-party tested. So
okay, very good. Okay,
I firmly believe that our honey is pretty clean. So I would probably just test the end result.
I feel like you've gone to Great Lakes to find the cleanest honey, so I do believe you. Joline, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I have a couple questions. We have a little source and self speed round. Don't overthink anything I'm going to say.
Okay.
So I just want to, just for the very end, I'll shoot some questions and just give me your first thought.
Okay.
What advice would you give your younger self?
You can count on yourself. Don't worry about it. Don't worry too much. I've got you. That's what I would say.
I love that. If you could have one do-over, what would it be?
I would use, I probably would have started this earlier, or I would just use less of my own money to grow this company. It's very stressful.
It's very stressful. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite meal?
Ooh, macaroni and cheese.
Sounds good.
Any macaroni and cheese.
Who would you like to share it with?
Oh, probably my girlfriends, like my best girlfriends. Yeah.
That's lovely. Mm-hmm. And what is your favorite workout?
Oh, I love to run. There's no doubt about it. I love to run. No sound, no nothing. Just the sound of my feet hitting the pavement.
Amazing. What do you do to lift your mood?
Read. Or play with my dog.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, I'm reading a book called Counterfeit.
Okay.
I'm in 2024, I read 100 books. Oh. And so I'm trying to pass that this year. I love to read. Yeah. I get in bed every night at 9:00 and I read for 2 hours.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. So it can be anything. I love murder mysteries. It's all fiction. Once in a while, I'll read like a life story. I read, Keith Richards' life, the Rolling Stones, Sally Field's new book.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you're a little bit rock and roll. I mean, you're really shaking things up. This is a little bit rock and roll.
I kind of have a crush on the Rolling Stones. I'm not going to lie. I'll read any book that the Rolling Stones put out.
You might not be alone in that. What is your motto, your words to live by?
Design your life. It's been in my kitchen for 25 years.
Incredible.